So the day's finally come where we can stop reviewing Polynean figures every week, and today we'll review something different. How about a Nendoroid of Megaman X, or Rockman X as he's written on the package. We have a lovely box here, very clean, white with just a little bit of accent of blue, and of course some logos on there as well. Everything looks really great, the picture is adorable, and the figure looks rather cute inside the plastic. But yeah, Mega Man's probably been one of my favorite video game franchises since I was a kid. Honestly, it's what got me into hardcore games. I grew up with Mega Man X, so this is the character that I was most fond of as a kid. So let's get into looking at this box. We already discussed the front, but if we turn the box to the side, we can see a cute picture of Mega Man firing his buster on top and a bit of a dash at the bottom. The other side, he looks rather battle ready in a cute stance there, as well as him shooting off a charged shot. On the back, we have the usual couple poses here, where we've actually seen these on the other sides of the box, but everything's presented nice and clean with some information, of course, as well on here. And finally, the top has another recycled pose, but let's get this thing open. This packaging is great, very minimalist. You get to see everything as soon as you take him out of the packaging. All the accessories are in plain view, as well as it comes with an additional piece of instructions that show you how to swap out some of his parts, but we don't need that. Everything inside there is within some plastic, which keeps it from rubbing against the packaging, so let's get in there and take some of it out. And there he is, looking nice and clean and rather fresh out of the box. He has a very glossy finish, and that's fine. The character looks good with that because he is wearing armor. But one thing about the figure that I'm not as fond of is the fact that since he's a chibi, he has that big head, and that head is hollow. But everything here looks really good. The colors are all super bright, and everything is pretty game accurate. Of course, this is stylized a bit differently, but I rather do like it. The dark blue, the cyan, and of course the little hints of red in there, everything works really well, but that is thanks to his amazing character design and not so much the sculpt. But I will say it's very accurate in the way that it's been designed. But if we get more into talking about the figure itself, it's rather solid. Over time, Nendoroids have evolved certainly from where they were originally. They've tried a lot of different things with the way that they pose, and thus he is one of the more recent ones, so he's done rather well. He has peg joints for arms, which aren't really the best, but they do what they need to do. Now, if you can just look in here, you'll see that there's a bit of a tiny ball joint there for his leg, which works rather well. I'm pretty sure his foot is also on one. His knee is a hinge, and everything here poses decently. You're not going to get a ton out of it because this is a Nendoroid, but his head can go up and down and get a slight swivel there. Additionally, his waist does not move very much, but it does get some swivel to it, but he's not going to be bending back anytime soon. His arms are on a peg, which can go back and forth on a swivel, not too much there. His wrist is actually able to be turned just gently. You can swivel that, as you can see here, as well as his hand also is something that you can swivel. Now, his leg is pretty decently rotatable thanks to that ball joint there. And another thing is, of course, that hinge, which does allow for a nice bend back. And of course, you can push it forward as well. His foot is probably on a ball joint, I can assume, with the way that it's fit in there. And that rotates rather nicely so that you can pose him when he stands on his own. Overall, pretty decent articulation for something small and cheap like this. And despite him being a bit of a cheaper figure, he actually looks really good, and not just in pictures. This figure looks great in hand, and of course, it shows up great on camera. This lens is capturing his bright colors so well, which really do stick out. I can't overstate that enough. He is super colorful and super nice. One thing he comes with, of course, is the Nendoroid Base, which is a small piece of plastic here with a bunch of holes in it, which of course can then mount the arm, which is a 3 hinge joint pivotable piece that can plug into any of the holes here on the base, and of course that top portion can be plugged into his back. X comes with a small hole in his back, which can be plugged in rather easily to that, and now he can stand on his base. He can also stand on his own, so don't worry, you don't need the stand at all times, but it is helpful for more dynamic shots. Now, he comes with a bunch of different arm pieces, and rather than show you them all attached separately, I'll just show you them in hand, because they're all sort of situational. He has a shoulder and then a forearm, and it can attach to his gauntlets. Another piece he has is, of course, this flat hand here, and when you plug that in, that will allow Mega Man to lay the smackdown on a Reploid. This is canon now, no pun intended. But additionally, he comes with his Mega Buster. The way that you attach that is by taking off his arm, and you can actually detach the shoulder from the forearm and then plug it into the sort of bent arm that plugs into his Buster here. Then you can plug his shoulder back into the shoulder pad. And once you plug everything back in, you can see him ready to fire off. And this looks great. This is the way that we know X, with that arm cannon, and it is a rather good representation. It's not goofily large, and it's not too small to not seem like it's his cannon. This thing looks great, and combined with that flat hand, you can show him supporting the weight of it, and of course, potentially charging up a larger blast. Another thing he comes with that I absolutely love is this effect part here. It sort of looks like a Hadouken, which is actually fitting for X here. The sort of lightning coming off of it looks really cool, and the translucent plastic is a really nice touch. The painting is well done too. This is supposed to represent a charge shot from the game. If you remember from Mega Man X, even on the menu it shows him shooting the green charge shot. Now these pieces are actually really cool because if you take a look at the bottom of both of them, they have a small hole right here, and that is to adapt it so that it can be plugged into his base. It comes with these small little ball joint sort of stands, and they bend at these hinges, and everything plugs in via the ball joint there. It's a rather simple fitting, plugs in very easily, and then you plug it into the base, and it creates a great effect. Since it's clear, it's all pretty seamless. The green part, of course, has the same hole, and it's held up rather well. The weight isn't too much, and it makes for an awesome effect. Now, like the other figures from the Nendoroid line, you can go ahead and take Mega Man's head off, then rip off the helmet, and of course, take off his faceplate. This will now allow you to plug in another face, which is rather excited, and once you plug that in, it fits in rather easily, and you plug the helmet back in, and now Mega Man is rather surprised, but with that brow of his helmet, he looks kinda mad. But this is great for when he's shooting a blast. Hey, watch out, X. You better make sure you have enough lives before you go in there to fight that boss. Oh, sweet. There goes an extra life right there. Man, if only you had some health, though. Oh, wow, look, there's an E-tank. Man, you could really use that. Oh, but it looks like it's the original Mega Man's E-tank. Now, with both of these guys here, I should tell you that there's even another Mega Man Nendoroid for me to show you. Bang! And that is going to be this Mega Man X. This is the full armor edition of X. And this actually implies that he's gained all of the power-ups from the game. If you're familiar, once you get all of the armor upgrades and all the secrets, he changes his armor quite a bit from the original blue color scheme. And of course, this means he has new abilities. So when we look at the box, we can see that he has these awesome triple stream blasts, and he looks great alongside the other ones. Now, I've had him for a while, and he's very shiny, similar to X. They both have a very similar gloss finish, but I think my favorite of them is the regular Mega Man here. He just has better accessories, better posability, and I just like the matte finish. Now, he also comes with an effect part, and if you remember, I mentioned the Hadouken earlier, and that is relevant to this piece. He also comes with those triple stream blasts, which are super nice, and they can all be combined together with another piece. But Mega Man, if you were just a little bit stronger, maybe if you had something to take in there with you, you wouldn't have any problem defeating Sigma. We'll call in the Rabbit boys, because this is the Mega Man Rabbit Ride Armor. If you see on the box here, it shows him riding in the cockpit, which is super cool. On the side, it shows the suit powered down, and even shows a back view, which shows you what I would assume are the ears of the rabbit on the back of it. This is super exciting because I always remember this from the game. I just called it the big robot suit or the mech suit, and it's so awesome to finally have a toy of this. I would have killed for something like this as a kid. And here it is, and man, does this thing look great. I absolutely love this. Everything about it is just perfect. This is such a great representation. Although it's hollow and a bit light, that's probably for the best, because if this thing was too heavy, that would make things awkward. Seriously, the build quality here is wonderful. The paint apps are all perfect. There's so much detail on such a big, simple, goofy piece. There's of course gloss finish paint, and then there's even that metallic finish too. All the accents, all of the features here, just everything looks so great. This thing is nearly perfect in regards to when you compare it to what the game sprite looks like. Another funny thing about this is that it actually has some limited articulation despite it being a big chunky robot. As you can see, there's hinges here and even some joints, so this thing can move around. It has a swivel at the waist. Its legs can go up and down, as well as the foot here, as well as you can see, is also moving in conjunction with the leg. Now, the arms are on a peg, so those can go up and down, just a gentle swivel there. And there's like a kind of ball peg joint here. That allows it to go in and out, and it can also be swiveled, just like some of the other ball pegs we're used to. But honestly, that's pretty good articulation for such a big chunky beast. Now, of course, you wouldn't just throw Mega Man in there. This thing does come with one additional accessory, and that is in the form of these two hands. So once you drop Mega Man in there, all you gotta do is plug his hands in, and they actually act to stabilize him. He won't move from this position now, and this looks great. He looks awesome holding the handles, and this just keeps getting better, so let's move on. The Nendoroid of Mega Man X is a nearly perfect representation of the character. He's chibi, yes, but honestly, this works in such a great stylized way. Now, the additional rabbit ride armor is of course an optional piece, but I would say if you're going to get one, get the other, because it really does help him feel more complete. This is something that I would have loved to have as a kid. I would kill for a toy like this. I always wanted Mega Man toys, but we just didn't have them. And far more than a figure, this feels like a toy. This is something that was fun for me to play with and pose. Honestly, I liked this a lot more than I thought I would like it, and I was already rather excited to get this thing. I'm so excited to always see Mega Man merch, so when something like this comes along, it's just an absolute must-buy for me. This thing hits all the right marks for me. Nostalgia's right there, but of course the quality is what you come to expect from Goodsmile. The Nendoroid line has evolved so much over time, and that's what I think's really important. It's great to see a figure that looks this good after comparing it to something like some of the old Nendoroids that I've had in the past. I sort of stopped collecting them because they got a little boring to me, and ultimately they just seemed kind of cheap and they weren't really going anywhere. But a figure like this is something that will very easily make me go against my vow of not buying Nendoroids, because this thing really was different in its own way. One thing I really like is how much they've improved over time. Seriously, this was a great time to purchase a new Nendoroid. This was just what I needed to refresh me on the line. I've only got a couple that I've purchased in the past couple years, but I'm happy to see that they are of course evolving. Nothing's worse than when a figure line known for quality starts to stagnate. I'm a huge fan of the Figma series, so the Nendoroid is a close cousin that I sometimes have to say, they're not part of this family. But I will say that the Mega Man X and Rabbit Ride armor are a solid purchase, and I would recommend them to any game collector or Mega Man fan. Basically, anybody who's into this kind of stuff, these are a great purchase. As for a rating, well, I'd have to say as a total package, they're pretty darn good. Mega Man X with the Rabbit Ride armor, I would give an easy 9 out of 10. They're great pieces on their own, but the one does need the other to survive. Whereas you could just get Mega Man X himself, and he looks great on a shelf. But if you really want to turn some heads, then get the Rabbit Ride armor. It looks awesome in your collection of other game figures. Mega Man himself, I will give an 8 out of 10. He's pretty good. I think he's missing just a little bit of extra oomph. I'd like to see more accessories out of him where he really just kind of came with his cannon, a couple blast pieces, and that's really it. There's so many iconic accessories in the Mega Man series, especially when you consider a series like X and all of the different enemies and all the different power-ups. I would love to see something like that included. But I'm getting far away from myself, and I need to just tell you guys that I love this figure. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on it. Are you a big Mega Man fan? What's your favorite game? Go ahead and drop a comment below and let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm always making new figure reviews, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when I upload. Always remember that Spark Mandrill has the best stage music in Mega Man X. Have an awesome weekend, and keep on collecting.